All right. Well, happy Friday, guys. Happy Friday. I hope you've had a good week. I've had a great week. I've had a great week. I've had a great time making the videos for you. I think it's been some really good work, and I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, there's been some comedy, there's been some serious videos and all of that stuff, but I think it was all very worthwhile content. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and click the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the little bell so you get notified when I post new videos. I've been putting out a lot of content lately, so don't want you to miss anything. And also, please consider supporting me on Patreon because it'll keep the consistency of these videos as high as it's been. I've had some extra time, so I've been making more videos, but it's not always going to be that way. And so the more support I get, the more time I can spend on these videos and all of that kind of stuff. So please consider supporting me on Patreon, and thank you so much for subscribing and sharing and liking and all that stuff. Let's start with the Bible verse today. I love the book of Exodus. A lot of you guys like it too. This is Exodus chapter 23. I'm going to start in verse 1. God says this: "You must not spread a false report. Do not join the wicked to be a malicious witness. You must not follow a crowd in wrongdoing. Do not testify in a lawsuit to go along with a crowd to pervert justice. Do not show favoritism to a poor person in his lawsuit." Man, this is such a helpful verse in so many ways. In our context today, I can see so many applications for this. And the key here in my what I want to focus on anyway is you must not follow a crowd in wrongdoing. Why would God say it that way, right? Like, why doesn't he just say, just don't do wrong? Just don't do bad things. Be righteous. Don't do evil. I mean, he does say that too. But here he's specific. Don't follow a crowd in wrongdoing. Why would he say that? Because the thing is, when a crowd is doing wrong, they never think it's wrong, right? Like they present it as it's good. They flip it upside down, right? They're promoting evil, but saying it's actually good, and it's very convincing. You know, when you see a crowd doing something, the tendency is to think, well, it's probably okay, right? It's very easy for us, like we're taken to this sin of joining the crowd. And if the crowd is convincing enough that evil or good is evil and evil is good, it can be tricky. And so God is saying here, you must not follow the crowd in wrongdoing, because he knows that we have a tendency to do this. God is smart. And so he's commanding us here where he knows we're weak. It's very easy to follow a crowd. If you think back on your life, all of us have done this at times. And it's not a good thing. So we need to keep our integrity. And that's why we want to stay steeped in the Bible, right? Because the world and the crowds can be tricky. But if we understand and we focus on the truth and we're constantly in that word and we're constantly in that book, we will be able to quickly identify the truth from the lie, right? That's why it's so important to read the Bible, not just so you get knowledge in your head, but rather so you can see the liar for what he is. And you can hold on to your integrity, and you can refuse to participate. You must not follow the crowd in wrongdoing. Don't comply. You might not be able to convince the crowd that they're wrong, but you don't comply. That's the thing, right? That's what we need to be focused on. And so, if you haven't seen my video this week about Pastor Eric Mason, in his accusation that James White is a racist. It's a good video. You should watch it. It's a long video, but I think it's really worth it because I really break down what's going on there. And you see, in our culture today, there's a great many people, our evangelical leaders, right? The people that have big platforms, the people that have a lot of funding, they're going to give Eric Mason pats on the back for doing wrong because Eric Mason is a racist. He said racist things in this video. In this post. It's just that simple. And he did it in such a perverted way because as he's being a racist, he's accusing and convincing successfully a lot of people that James White is the racist. So as he's being a racist to James White, he's convincing you, though, that James White has been a racist to him. Now, this got me all heated because at the time, when I read the post that Eric Mason had, I knew it was stupid. On the face of it, it's stupid. Even if you accept everything he says, it doesn't make any logical sense. He's not thinking straight. But then I went back and watched the context of the James White video, and I was shocked because Eric Mason turned it upside down. He lied through his teeth. And this is how you handle a liar? You say, nope, I'm not believing you, number one, so I don't comply. And number two, you call him on his lies. Eric Mason is a liar and a racist. And that's the reality of the situation. Now, the crowd is going to say, well, James White, how could you? How could you? You don't show favoritism to a black man just because he's black. Just because he complains that somebody else is racist, you don't show favoritism to him. Instead, you call him what he is. You are a partial man. You are unstable in all your ways. You're out of line. Get back in line, Eric Mason. I don't care if you've got black skin, white skin, or Latino skin. You need to step back into line where the scripture tells you to stay. Stop lying. Stop lying. He said, well, the context doesn't affect the content. And it's like, yes, it does. Because without the context, you don't know what the content is. That's the reality. Without the context, you don't know what the content is. And so you're just a liar. Stop lying. Call him a liar because he is a liar. Look at this. Look at this. So James White got in trouble for saying that there's a problem in the black church, a lack of a focus on correct theology and doctrine, anti-intellectualism, that kind of thing. And Eric Mason said, well, that's racist. Yeah, right. Eric Mason is unstable. Unstable. You know how I know he's unstable? Because he himself has said the same thing. But I guess it's not racist because he's black. Well, if you think that way, that a black man can talk about the black church, but a white man can't talk about the black church, you're a racist. Eric Mason is a textbook racist. I mean, he's spreading evil. Don't join in the crowd to do evil just because it's easy to do that and no one will ridicule you for it, and they might ridicule you for it if you oppose it. They might call you a racist. I had a few YouTube commenters say that I'm a racist because I mean, there was no explanation. It's just, I guess it's because I oppose the great Dr. Eric Mason. Look at this video. There's a video called, this is a tweet I posted. It's called Theological Imperialism in the Black Community. This is Eric Mason talking to Lecrae and Trip Lee. And the explanation of this is a great video, actually. You should watch it. It's actually very helpful if you take away the context of this man is unstable, right? Eric Mason is not a stable man. So anyway, he says this. He says, the video is called Theological Imperialism, and the explanation of this video is, can anyone bridge the divide between historically black churches and gospel-centered theology? So there's a divide, according to the Gospel Coalition, between black churches and theology, good theology. That's essentially the exact same thing that Dr. James White said. Now I want you to hear this. This is Dr. Eric Mason ranting a little bit. See, when you don't have real foundations and you're just flying by the seat of your emotional racist pants, you say all kinds of contradictory things. Listen to this.
And it's all up to the day, and it's been alive for 100 years. The challenge is that there haven't been enough African American theologians. We got enough preachers. We got enough people who can put a thing in their ear and say, ain't he all right? And I ain't mad at that. But we got enough of that. We got enough of dudes closing. We got enough dancing and bucking and all of that. Now we need to use what God has given us. Let me tell you something. Now we got to do this. Now we got to do this. Now we got to think. We got to think.
So Eric Mason is saying that there's not been enough thinking, not been enough sound doctrine. There's been a lot of preaching, a lot of emotions, a lot of dancing and bucking, you know what I mean? A lot of that kind of stuff. But there hasn't been enough of the theology, the sound doctrine, the intellectualism. That is the exact point that James White made. Okay? There's a difference, though. James White has the wrong skin color. So to a racist man, like Pastor Eric Mason...
And we got to provide documented answers, because it's going to...
To a racist man, that's unacceptable. So here's what you do. Like, this is the thing. You can't stop Eric Mason from being racist. You can't stop Matt Chandler from patting him on the back for his racism. You can't stop people from going along with the crowd to do evil. Eric Mason is doing evil. He's not doing righteousness online when it comes to this issue, right? So, You can't stop people from joining. I mean, they're going to do what they want to do. Matt Chandler wants to look good to Eric Mason. And so he's going to pat him on the back for his racism and his lies. And, you know, you can't stop someone. But here's what you do, guys. This is how you do it. You don't do it. Don't comply. Mock this. Laugh at this. This is hilarious. It's sad on one level because this is a lost man, right? He's confused. And this issue, he doesn't know what is up and what is down. He thinks that evil is good. That's in this issue. Eric Mason is spreading evil and thinking that it's good, and so he's lost on this issue. He's lost. You'd be insane to listen to Dr. Eric Mason, Pastor Eric Mason rather. He's a doctor, right? I don't know. Who cares? Pastor Eric Mason. You'd be insane to listen to him on this topic. He's out of his mind. He doesn't think straight. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. So you don't comply, and you see it for what it is. It's stupid. It's hilarious. And don't treat him with kid gloves just because he's got black skin. Because he's a man. He has to own his stupidity here. He has to own his illogical thoughts when it comes to race. Because he's unstable. On the one hand, he can say the exact same thing, but on the other hand, then if James White says that he's a racist, he needs to be removed from the pulpit. When somebody says this kind of stuff, you laugh at them and you call them a liar and say, keep your mouth shut because you don't know what you're talking about, Eric Mason. You don't know what you're talking about. And worse, if you do, then you're just pure evil. Because if you can hold these things together, right? Black man allowed to say it, white man not allowed to say it. Like, if you can hold those together in your mind, and you know that you're doing this, like it's not instability. Because I'm willing to be charitable here. He's just unstable. But if you can say this in the same sentence, in the same breath, I'm allowed to say this truth, but Dr. White is not allowed to say this truth, then you are a unrepentant, obvious racist. Obvious. Because Dr. White can say this truth, just like you can, Dr. Eric Mason, just like you can. It's just that simple. And so you can't stop Matt Chandler from giving him attaboys. You can't stop, all these guys from going, oh, you're so racist, Dr. White. You can't stop the crowd from doing evil, but you don't join the crowd. That's what's so good about God's law. He says you must not follow the crowd. He doesn't say you must convince the crowd not to do it. I mean, look, there are people I'm trying to convince the crowd not to do it. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not the command here. The focus is on you. You must not follow the crowd in wrongdoing. You need to have some backbone. You need to do it. You're responsible for yourself and your family. You see, because I know, so let me give you an example. This is something that I've thought a lot about because I have my kids, right? And so I think about my kids. I'm responsible for teaching them, right? And so I will teach my kids the correct way to be a human being. Follow God, keep his commandments, fear him, forget about the crowd. If the crowd is doing evil, you don't follow them. You don't see and treat brothers according to the flesh. You don't treat different skin colors differently. I will teach my kids that. And all of these sick people like Eric Mason will tell you, well, that's not right. You can't be colorblind. That's colorblind theology. Ignore them because they're doing evil. Don't follow the crowd in doing evil. Ignore them. Okay? Ignore them. We got, let's see here. This one was funny. Did you watch my video about Russell Moore and Sesame Street? I mean, this is what our leaders are up to. Sesame Street. What the church can learn from Sesame Street. This is not a joke. This is real. The church has things to learn from Abby Cadabby and Big Bird and Bert and Ernie and Elmo and all these guys. Yeah, the church can learn. The church can learn from Sesame Street. Stupid. This is a pacified man. This is a man who, there are serious things going on. He's writing articles about Sesame Street, right? And you're paying for this. So here's another idea, right? Don't join the crowd in doing evil. Stop paying for this. Stop funding the ERLC. Just stop. I know it's different. It's going to shake things up. But the thing is, you can't be worried about that. Stop this. Stop this. Do not join the crowd. You must not join the crowd in doing evil. Am I saying write an article about Big Bird and Abby Cadabby is doing evil? No, I'm not saying that. But there are evil things that Russell Moore is up to. Absolutely, there are evil things that Russell Moore and his ERLC are up to. I've gotten reports. I'm going to put this out there, at some point about just the intentional steps that the ERLC and Russell Moore and all the intentional steps that are being taken to soften what the scripture says clearly about all kinds of stuff: homosexuality, abortion, gender roles, all this kind of stuff. Stop participating in it. It's evil. It's evil to obfuscate what the scripture has made clear. It's evil. It's not like not God's best for you. It's not like it's not in line with human flourishing. It's evil to pervert the words of God. It's evil to do that. Don't join in the crowd in doing evil. Stop funding them. Just stop. They have big platforms. They've been there for a while. They're institutions. They've done good in the past. None of that makes it okay to join the crowd in doing evil. Now, I've got some messages for men out there. I saw this tweet from Michael Foster. This is a great tweet, man. This is a great tweet. And the sooner you realize what's going on in this world, the sooner you realize that, the easier it will be to really just say, enough is enough. You stop joining the crowd and doing evil. You must not do it. You see what I'm saying? And we can have a good time with this, man. There's not, look, Russell Moore and his Muppets deserve mockery, and we can laugh at them, and we can meme on them, and we can just refuse to take them seriously, and all of that is good. Stop taking Russell Moore seriously. Meme on him, joke with him, and just you follow God. Don't join the crowd in doing evil. You follow God, and you organize your life, and you teach your kids seriously, and things like that. Listen to Michael Foster here. Evil rulers will use women against men. And he has 3 biblical examples, right? Satan used Eve against Adam, definitely. Pharaoh unsuccessfully tried to use the midwives against the son of Israel, definitely. The Philistines used Delilah against Samson, definitely. And then he says this: what is the most widespread form of this tactic today? Pornography. It keeps men pacified and weak. This is a truth, man. This is a truth. When you're watching and using porn and you're masturbating all the time and all of this kind of stuff, what does that do to you? It makes you weak. It makes you pathetic. It takes you off the mission. You see, men have this orientation where they want to accomplish something. And this is a good thing, because in the Garden of Eden, this is the work that he gave us. We were supposed to subdue the earth, have dominion over the earth, right? That's a mission. That's a plan. We have things to do. Outside of the home, we've got things to do. We need to forge our own way. We need to build things, right? Like, that's what men need to do. Men. I'm talking about men here. You see, women are supposed to be working and focused on the home. Men have to have an orderly home, but they've got other work to do as well. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. And so when you're constantly masturbating, here's the thing, guys. When you're constantly doing that kind of stuff, it's actually robbing you of the actual work you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be being fruitful and multiply, right? That's the initial command, right? And when you're masturbating all the time, you're actually taking what you should be using to be fruitful and multiply and wasting it. And it's just nonsense, right? And there's other ways. This is not just porn, right? Porn is a big one, for sure. Porn is a big one. There's other ways to do this, right? A lot of people like to rail on video games, right? I play video games, right? But the reality is there's been a shift in how I play video games, because when I was younger and I was an unbeliever, I would play obsessively. And why did that appeal to me, right? Why did it appeal to me to just constantly be playing? Like, I played World of Warcraft a lot, right? It was a great game. I had a lot of fun with it. But you know what it was? There was this illusion that I was buying into. Like, I was accomplishing something. I was building something. In those games, you build, cities and characters, and you build wealth, and you build all these things, but it's all fantasy. They even have a word for this: power fantasy. A lot of games will be rated onto how well they accomplish the power fantasy, right? Now, the idea of wanting to be powerful and wanting to build and wanting to get wealth, these are all good things. Men should want that. But when you're spending your time doing it in a fantasy, And you're spending way too much time doing it in a fantasy like I used to. I'm not accusing you of anything, but I used to spend way too much time doing this in a fantasy that actually robs me of what I'm supposed to be doing. Doing that, subduing the earth, having dominion over the earth in real life. Like, do you see that? Like, for me, World of Warcraft and other games in the past I've been attempting to accomplish the dominion mandate in game. In game, that's a problem. That's like masturbating. You know, it's doing something. It's using something that God gave you to actually accomplish His mission in a fantasy. You see what I'm saying? It's the same kind of thing. There's other ways to do this, guys. There really are. I mean, we got to be careful. Like sports, for example. I used to, be obsessive about sports and fantasy leagues and stuff like that. Again, that's pretend. It's pretend. It's pretend ways of having battles and being successful and being on mission and stuff like that. Like, we should be doing that in real life, right? Like it's okay to watch sports. I'm not saying you shouldn't watch sports or anything like that, but we all know people that it goes too far. It's too much. They're too into it. It takes up too much of their lives and too much of their resources. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, God gave you these resources. God gave you seed, and God gave you this desire to want to build. God gave you this desire to be in a battle, in a fight. And this is all stuff that is good and men should cultivate. But then there's lots of things that the world has to distract you from actually using it for the dominion mandate, to take dominion over the world, over the fish of the sea, and all these things. Like, that's our command, right? That's our command. We should be doing that. And often we use the tools God gave us to do that in fantasies. And so just stop. Stop doing it. Just stop doing it. And if you stop doing it, your desires to want to build, your desires to want to procreate, they're not going to go away. And so you have a wife, and then you have a family, and then you have kids, and then you build a house, and then you build wealth, and then you build a legacy. Like, this is real life. You can do all the things that you do in the video games and in the pornography and all this. You can do all those things to the glory of God, and it's even better because it's in real life. I'm not saying you have to quit video games, guys. That's not my thing, right? I still play Battlefront from time to time, right? But I'm talking to those of you that deep down, it's taken up too much of your life, too much of your resources, your time, your money, and these things were given to you by God so that you can get a return on them. God wants a return on that. And you should give it to Him, man. He's your Lord. He's your master. And He gave you a whole book, right, on how to do this, on how to do it, how to be a man, how to be a human being. And so you should listen to Him. He knows. He created you. And so we can have fun on the way, man. I'm not saying there's no room for fun. Of course there's room for fun. I love having fun. That's what this channel's all about. We can have fun. We can feast, man. God has given us abundantly. We can feast. And we have to fight. We don't have a choice. We have to fight. But let's focus on the things that we can control, the gifts that God has given us. Let's not covet the power of ABC and NBC and CBS. Let's focus on us and refuse to comply with it. And we can meme on them, we can mock them, and we can, but we have to train our families according to what's what, right? We have to do it. We have to listen to God. And we have to do it in such a way where we're always on guard that we do not follow a crowd in wrongdoing. If everyone else is going to say that Desmond is amazing, is a little girl, and he's not being he is not pedophilia, that he's so sexualized, and ABC's putting it online. If everyone else is saying that, refuse to believe it, and do not let them near your kids. Get your kids out of public school. They're being groomed to be transsexuals. They're being groomed. If your kids are learning sex ed from Caesar, who's promoting this sexual gender confusion, they're being groomed, like literally groomed. Don't allow your kid to be groomed. Get them the heck out of there. there's hard conversations that need to be had, right? Like I have young kids, so it's easy for me. I have no desire to put them into public school, right? You have your kids in public school right now, and it'd be a hard situation to get them out. I get it, but those hard conversations need to start now. Need to start now before something happens, because Caesar has a different religion. God has a completely different religion than anything that's going on in the public square right now, and you need to be faithful to God. You must not follow a crowd in wrongdoing. No matter how popular, no matter how old, no matter how much of an institution it is, no matter how crazy people think you are for not going along with the crowd, you must not follow a crowd in wrongdoing. You must obey Christ. You. Anyway, I hope this is helpful, and if it was too ranty for you, I'm sorry. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. But this is just on my heart, on my mind, and anyway, I hope this is helpful. God bless.